Good evening, everyone. In my recent Hellsing review, I mentioned that I was miffed that some people didn't like Seras Victoria for kinda sexist reasons. I talked about why I think she's awesome in my top 10 female vampires review, but some people have asked me to discuss it further and explain what I found sexist about the hate she gets. One commenter very politely phrased it this way. Might I ask, what reasons do people have against Seras that you would consider sexist? The most common complaints I hear about her is that she's kinda annoying and she takes time away from Alucard and Integra. Speaking personally, I liked her, but I think that she was most certainly the weakest of the main trio of her, Alucard, and Integra. I will admit she's got some pretty damn awesome moments when she gets access to some heavy firepower. So, since this is an issue that many people seem interested in hearing about, I decided to make this little vlog instead of just replying to the comment. Okay. Now, I'm just speaking to my experience here, where I witnessed people expressing dislike towards Seras Victoria in the TV anime years ago. This is what I heard them say. She's weak. She's lame. She doesn't want to be a real vampire. She refuses to drink blood. This makes her, such a Mary Sue character. I deduced that last part to be pushback against a reluctant vampire trope, which, yes, had become a bit of a cliche. But meanwhile, I'm watching the show and seeing such an awesome female character surrounded by men, except Integra, of course, facing all these tough circumstances and sexism from her coworkers and dealing with it and growing and learning and coming out on top. And I'm thinking, why is it a bad thing to these people watching the show that she's not immediately strong? What did they expect? That she would be turned into a vampire and instantly become a super badass? Why is a woman preferring to temporarily remain in a position of servitude for her own comfort a bad thing to them? There's this cliche of the strong female character where a woman has to shed her femininity and take on traditionally masculine traits, like heavy firepower, in order to be seen as strong. And if she retains any girly traits like cutesiness or uncertainty or need for coping mechanisms to process grief and gradually, slowly, developmentally adjust to new circumstances, then she is somehow lesser. Seras is only 19. She is a child, so obviously she sometimes acts like a child, even though she's had to grow up fast. I wonder if this audience would dislike a male character in the same way or find him obnoxious or lame for exhibiting similar childlike behavior. Perhaps they would, but I do have to wonder, if it were a male character having the same traits as Seras, would it be looked down upon because he was being such a girl? I don't know, but here's another way to think about it. We have two main female characters in the show. Integra almost entirely consistently exhibits stereotypically masculine traits, and she's accepted as awesome and badass. Seras is the only one who really exhibits feminine traits, but meanwhile, she's also an incredibly powerful vampire and has a much more complex character arc of growth with a satisfying conclusion. She's the point of view character for the audience, essentially the protagonist of the TV anime, aka the main character, who we get to and should spend the most time with and identify the most with. And I think she's successful in this way because she does retain her humanity in an environment where even the humans around her can come off as cold and unfeeling. She's a good person with unshakable morals and generosity of spirit and almost infinite patience and resilience in situations where she's continually degraded. And she manages this without being self-righteous about it, and yet people find her unlikable? What is there to dislike? When a character goes from being weak to becoming strong, that is not a bad thing. Why look down upon it? And on that note, was she ever really weak? She's strong in a different way than Alucard or Integra is strong. It's her humanity that makes her strong. It takes other characters a while to fully realize this, but when they do, they admire her for it. They don't see it as a weakness at all. And yet the audience couldn't get on board with that because it wasn't a stereotypically masculine approach. This is a double standard, and it is sexist. I do like to believe that when people in the audience react to it, they are not being intentionally sexist themselves. But when you really think about the psychology behind anyone thinking Seras is lame when she is the opposite of that, you can see it's indicative of a kind of subconscious internal misogyny that many Americans, including women, exhibit without realizing it. This double standard permeates American culture and has for many generations. The most productive thing we as a people can do is is examine our own subconscious biases in order to hope to grow out of it. So yeah, when I personally experienced this attitude from some of the audience, my gut reaction was to just like Seras all the more and appreciate what a wonderfully complex character she is who happens to be female. And I hope you'll join me, but I'm not here to tell you you have to like her. And maybe you dislike her for entirely different reasons than anything I've said here. But either way, do take the time to really think deeply about whatever your reasons may be. We can all only be the better for it. Thanks for watching.